Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm really glad you're joining us today because, well, we're setting off on a bit of a different kind of journey. Our mission, like always, is to dive into some source material. Could be anything, an article, notes, research, and pull out those key insights, those useful facts, the stuff that helps you feel genuinely clued in fast. And today, our source is interesting because it's not just about what a book says, but really how we can properly engage with it. It's excerpts from The Alchemist, a guided review. So yeah, not a summary of the book itself, but a really fascinating look at how you might structure a thoughtful review. Okay, let's unpack this.
Exactly. What we're looking at here is basically a framework, a book review prompt for Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. But it's much more than just, a checklist. It's a structured way to really reflect deeply on what you've read. We're going to explore why these specific points in the prompt are so important, not just for getting The Alchemist, but honestly for getting better at thinking through any story or any complex info you come across. It's about how we make sense of things.
Right. So for you listening, your mission for this deep dive is to get a kind of shortcut to understanding what makes a book review truly insightful. And along the way, you'll also get a fresh perspective on the big ideas in The Alchemist itself, all without feeling like you're drowning in information. Okay, let's dig in. So the first point in this review guide is overview. It asks for a quick, spoiler-free summary. Who's the main character? What's their basic quest? Seems simple enough, right? But what's the real significance of nailing that concise summary? Is there like a common mistake people make here?
Oh, definitely. The key thing here, and it's subtle, is that a good overview isn't just repeating the plot. It's almost like setting up your thesis for the whole review. It subtly guides the reader towards your take on the book's core, so your later points. They land better. A lot of reviews, especially from people starting out, they just rehash what happens. They miss that chance to frame their analysis right from the start. Identifying Santiago, the shepherd boy, and his quest for treasure, it's not just plot points. It's establishing the journey you're about to dissect.
Okay, framing it like a thesis. That makes a lot of sense. So for you, the listener, when you encounter a news story, how do you quickly sort of zero in on that central quest without giving the game away? Is it always obvious? Or do some stories kind of hide their main thread a bit?
Okay, so once we have that basic map, the next step is usually the heart of the story, right? The themes. This prompt highlights key themes from The Alchemist. Destiny, personal legends, spirituality, self-discovery. Big ones. These are themes the book is famous for. But why is digging into them so vital? And how do we go beyond just listing them to really, grapple with them?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is exactly where the story stops being just a story and becomes something universal. These themes aren't random. They're why The Alchemist resonates so widely, why it has that philosophical weight. Thinking about them pushes you to see the universal messages. But the real key, I think, is choosing which theme resonated personally with you. That's what makes it your review, your conversation with the book. It moves you from saying, oh, the book's about destiny, to explaining how that idea of destiny maybe challenged you or confirmed something you already felt. That's the insightful part.
That's interesting. Sometimes I think the themes that really stick with you are the ones that make you a bit uncomfortable, maybe. The ones that push back against what you thought. So when you're reading, how do you usually identify those core messages? Especially ones that might be a bit hidden or maybe even seem contradictory. And of course, it's the characters who really bring these themes to life, Santiago especially. So the third point in the prompt focuses on his journey, his development, and also the impact of the other characters he meets. Why is tracking that change in Santiago and understanding the roles of those secondary characters so crucial for getting the book's message?
Because tracking Santiago's transformation, well, that's the engine of the story, isn't it? Character development is the narrative drive. It's not just about the events happening to him, but how he responds, how he grows, how he messes up sometimes. That's where the learning happens. And those secondary characters, Melchizedek, the crystal merchant, Fathmala, they're not just plot devices. They're essential. They challenge Santiago or guide him, or sometimes just reflect parts of his own thinking back at him. They show us the how and why of the message. You see self-discovery happening through interaction, not just as an abstract idea. It's like watching potential turn into reality, step by step.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it makes you think, doesn't it? How character arcs in fiction often mirror changes we see or wish we could see in real life. Have you ever read about a character whose journey felt almost weirdly close to something you were going through yourself? Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Point 4 is about writing style and tone. The prompt asks us to describe Coelho's style. Is it poetic, simple, philosophical? And did that style, that tone, actually support the book's message? How much does the way an author writes actually affect our experience? And what's notable about Coelho's approach?
Oh, analyzing style is hugely important. It's the author's craft, right? The choices they make that shape how you feel and think as you read. Describing a style as poetic or simple or philosophical, that's not just labeling. It tells you how the author is trying to connect with you, how they're reinforcing the ideas. Coelho, for instance, often uses very simple, almost fable-like language, but he uses it to talk about really big, complex philosophical ideas. It makes them feel accessible, universal even. His tone is generally quite contemplative, quite hopeful, which of course directly supports the whole personal legend message. It actually raises an interesting point. Sometimes the way a story is told is almost as important as the story itself.
That's so true. I mean, you think about books where the writing was just so dense or complicated that you almost couldn't get through it, even if the ideas were good. It really highlights how the delivery affects your understanding, doesn't it? Have you ever read a book where the style felt like the main event, where the prose itself was transformative? All right, next up, point 5 takes us into more personal territory, personal reflection. This one asks directly, did this book inspire you? Did it change how you think about your own journey, your own dreams? Why or why not? This really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From analyzing the book to how the book interacts with you.
Absolutely, and this personal reflection piece is, I think, invaluable in a review. This is where the story actually lands for the reader. It's where those aha moments tend to happen. When you connect those big themes like chasing your personal legend to your own life, your own hopes or fears or dreams, that's when the book stops being just words on a page. It deepens your engagement, sure, but it also shows the book's practical relevance. Is this useful? Does it speak truth to my life? For a lot of readers, this is the point where The Alchemist really clicks and becomes more than just a novel. It becomes almost like a mirror.
Yes, that's the magic of storytelling, isn't it?
Yes.
That connection. So for you listening, as you think about stories you've read, maybe The Alchemist, maybe something else, what worked for you, how do you best connect a fictional story back to your own life, your own goals, or how you see the world? And that leads us nicely to the final point in the prompt, the final verdict. This is where you decide. Would you recommend The Alchemist? And maybe more importantly, who would get the most out of reading it?
Exactly. This part pulls everything together. All those observations about plot, theme, character style, personal impact, they all feed into this final recommendation. And the real value isn't just saying yes or no, it's about identifying the audience. Who is this book for? Based on its themes, its style, its likely impact, who would really benefit from reading this right now? That turns the review into genuinely useful advice for other readers. It helps them find the right book for their journey.
Right. So the big question for you, the listener, becomes how can you use this whole framework from overview to personal impact to make your own reading richer? Or even, how can you use it to help other people find books that will really hit home for them? It's a pretty powerful way of looking at things, isn't it? Wow, okay, that was quite the deep dive. We've really unpacked these excerpts from The Alchemist, a guided review, and hopefully what's come through is that this isn't just about understanding The Alchemist better. It's about understanding the process of engaging thoughtfully with any story, any piece of complex information. It's that move from just consuming something to really reflecting on it, understanding its parts, and seeing how it connects to you.
Absolutely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, learning to use a structure like this review prompt, it can genuinely help you unpack any complex topic you encounter. Think about it. You learn to spot the main narrative, identify the core themes or arguments, see how different elements interact, notice the style presentation, and consider its personal impact or relevance. That kind of structured thinking, honed through reflecting on stories, really sharpens your critical thinking skills for all sorts of real-world situations. It goes way beyond just reading books.
That's a fantastic final thought, a really powerful takeaway. So we really encourage you listening. Take these ideas, this framework, and try applying it. Apply it to what you read, what you watch, the information you consume. Maybe even apply it to thinking about your own journey. You might just find your own personal legend hiding in the way you pursue knowledge.